And look at that. We already got the dream hand. This is perfect. We can actually get our Galloping Gaia right off the bat. We already have access to one of the guys that we need to summon. So we can just be able to summon that with Curse of Dragonfire. And then we can be able to use the fusion effect from Curse of Dragonfire to summon Gaia the Magical Dragon Champion. And then we can do it all over again with our good old Dragon Spear. This is going to be pretty fantastic, honestly. As long as this isn't like a Disruption Trap card, we already have an OTK potential, and also we even have Gateway to Chaos. That is actually phenomenal. So let's see. So let's actually bait out any potential back row, like removal for spell or traps they might actually have. Okay, so it looks like it's nothing, which is fine. So we're just gonna actually add Soldier Guy the Fierce Knight anyway. In case we need to overextend, I doubt it's gonna come down to that. However, it doesn't hurt to have a little bit more power. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna send Gaia the Fierce Knight Origin back to the deck to be able to activate Galloping Gaia. We're then gonna use Galloping Gaia's effect. We're going to reveal one Gaia the Fierce Knight monster and then add a level 5 Dragon type monster from our deck to our hand. So obviously we're going to go with the Curse of Dragonfire. Fantastic card. And now what we're then going to do is we're going to normal summon Gaia the Magical Knight. Due to his effect, because our opponent controls the monster, we do not. We can summon it without a tribute. We're then going to activate his effect, and upon resolution, it's going to summon the Curse of Dragonfire. So, and we're good. So we know that this is some kind of possible thing like Tretch or something along those lines. Potentially, just because they had an activation response to it. We're not going to activate the effect. We're going to see what this ends up doing. It's resolving. Okay, cool. Fantastic. So we're going to use the effect. Hopefully it resolves. If not, it's fine. It resolves. Let's go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to special summon Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons. Did I get the name right the first time? Did I finally get the name? Yes, we did! The Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons is now summoned on board. So what is going to happen now? Only time will tell. So here's what I want to do. I don't like that back row. That back row is scaring me. So we're just going to get rid of it right now. And considering we do have Forbidden Chalice open in our hand too, we can easily do some funny shenanigans. This doesn't even really faze me, to be honest, because I'm actually kind of glad we did tutor it out, because I could always tribute this thing off and go from there. That is fine. So here's what we're then going to want to do. We're going to activate Dragon's Mirror now at this point. And then, no, we're not going to use the effect just yet. We turn this into attack mode. We can then be able to do 16, and then, let's see, so we can do 16 plus 26. So that's going to be a total of 42. Okay. So not the most conventional way to win, but this is also another way that we're going to win as well. That's actually going to give it a little more utilization of some of our other creatures. Because again, Sky Galloping Gaia the Dragon Champion, like, he is pretty fine every now and then, but he's not going to be your number one go-to. So here's what we're going to do, right? So we're going to go to our battle step, and we're going to attack. This is going to activate his effect, allow me to change the direction of his monster's position. So we're going to change it to attack mode. This is going to allow us to do 1,600 points of damage, and with this equip or field spell, this also prevents her from using any type of hand traps that can disrupt her plays. So now, still during the battle phase, we're going to tribute off our Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons in order to special summon Soldier Gaia the Fierce Knight. Since it's still during the battle phase, we're not going to use this effect. We're also going to go directly for the attack and go for game. So fantastic. Easy. This deck is very consistent once it wants to do, so this is something that's very consistent for the deck. I hope you enjoyed this little quick playthrough bit. Let's get back to the content. What's up, YouTube? This is MetallicTCG coming at you with a Gaia the Dragon Mythical Magical Champion deck profile. Now, I do want to apologize. There's been a very much of a lapse of absence of terms of deck profiles onto the channel. And now with this newfound time that I do have acquired upon myself, I'm going to make sure that we do go a little bit with more deck profiles just so you can kind of know like how I feel about Duel Links and other card games in general. Don't forget to subscribe to join the community where we do have a lot of card game content between. Let's jump into it. So, the main win condition of the deck revolves essentially around Gaia the Mythical Knight of Dragons, along with some cards of Galloping Gaia. So, what I'm going to do is just basically give you a quick TLDR version of the deck, and then we'll kind of like go into some of the nuances and certain choices of said deck. So, the main thing that this deck is really strong with we're doing is being in the battle phase with Gaia the Mythical Magical Knight of Dragons with Galloping Gaia. Because when you have a Gaia the Dragon Champion monster in your monster zone, which this one fits the bill as well as this one, but this one is clearly the better opportunity. But this does have some good utility, which we will talk about. It essentially just locks out your opponent from cards or effects during the battle phase. So if you're familiar with like, you know, Ancient Gears, it plays similarly to that where it's very much the battle phase driven, which are some decks that I do like. I actually like him a lot. So let's jump into it. We're playing one Soldier Guy, the Fierce Knight. It's a quick effect. You contribute one Dragon-type fusion monster, special summon this card from your hand. This card is special summon. You can target an attack position monster field and change defense mode. You contribute this card, add a level 7 or higher warrior-type monster from your deck to your hand. The last effect, you don't really use this too much. Honestly, what I've mainly been using this card for is just a further extender to go for a game, because essentially this card is in your hand while you have Gaia, the Magical Knight of Dragons, or even Sky Galloping Gaia, the Dragon Champion. After they have attacked or even declared their effect and just, get some value off of that, you can quickly tribute this card off still during the battle phase and attack and go for game. It's a pretty good closer, but it does have some other utility as well. It is a little bit interesting though that this is a level 8 when everything else, including the fusion monsters, are level 7. So just a weird point there. We're playing one Dark Flare Dragon. I can't tell you how much I love this card, honestly. Like, it's pretty good if you want to take up the utility of discarding a dragon type from your hand, then you can send one from your deck to the grave. It's really strong because it can set up cards such as Dragon's Mirror, but honestly, just banishing a light in your dark from your graveyard to special summon this, it's pretty nice because it's another level 2400 beat stick, and it does give you access to rank 5s if you want to play that, such as Tiras, but you don't really go into that too often. But it just has some utility, which I do like. We're playing one Guy, the Fierce Knight Origin. Honestly, it is kind of good in the fact that it can be another monster you could just normal summon, or even just using off of having access to Galloping Guy, especially with the recent change to it. But this is actually a pretty decent one-off. It does give you some utility, but it also doesn't clog too much, so I do like it at 1. We're playing one Sphere Karibo, just hand trap protection, honestly. If you really wanted to, you could switch this over to something like Kite Roid, but that will impact some of the other cards in the deck, so you may want to be careful about what you want to switch up with. This card is pretty good just because it does send a card face to defense mode if they do try to attack you to go for game. You could add Kite Roid, which gives you a little bit more protection from that, but again, you do have to take out your Treacherous Trapple, so, just exercise some caution with that. We're playing 3 copies of Gaia the Magical Knight. You want to see this card opening up turn 1 because it's seriously so good. If you control no monsters and your opponent controls a monster 2300 attack or more, you can summon this card without tributing. If this card is normal or special, you can special summon a level 5 Dragon-type monster from your hand or graveyard in defense mode. Honestly, the graveyard utility is amazing as well. Like, even just summoning one from the hand is nice, but having access to your graveyard as well is just super good because it allows you to recycle your resources. So ultimately, you can keep the cards in your hand, trying to guess what your opponent's playing, and just have a little bit more explosive capabilities. The reason why you want to open up with Gaia the Magical Knight, or even something like Gateway to Chaos, is because with the skill that we're currently playing, it gives us a lot of potential to open up some busted plays. We're playing the Dragon Knight's Path, of course. Return one card from your hand to your deck. Place one Galloping Gaia face up on your field from your deck. After using this skill, you can only special summon the following monsters until the end of your turn. The skill only activates if you begin the duel with at least 8 cards with Gaia the Fierce Knight monsters or level 5 Dragon-type monsters. The skill can only be used once per duel. And those 8 cards do include such things as the fusion monsters, Gaia, Blackluster. It locks you out what you can and can't do, but honestly, who cares? Your turn 1 play is generally going to be setting playing this and then playing some Black on passing. Dragon Knight's Path is super good because if you open up with Magical Knight, you can use Galloping Gaia. You reveal this card to be able to get access to your Curse of Dragonfire. And then when Curse of Dragonfire is normal special summon, you can destroy a field spell on the field. Not too bad, honestly. It's an optional effect, so you can destroy an opponent's field spell. You're never going to want to really destroy this or potentially this, but it is still pretty nice to give you access to that utility. And then with this card, once per turn, you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters you control as fusion materials, including this card. So what you do is eventually normal summon this, activate its effect, special summon this, choose to activate its effect if you want, then use its secondary effect to fusion summon, and then you can go into a Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons or Sky Galloping Gaia the Dragon Champion. So again, you're already starting off with a really powerful monster. 2600 is still not the most strongest, but it is good in utility, and we'll go more into that card shortly as well. Or even Sky Galloping Gaia if you want to attack something to defense mode. You could also look into playing a Spiral Spear Strike, which honestly is not too bad, because it does give you a little bit more utility. Because if one of the type of monsters listed being Gaia the Dragon Champion or Gaia the Fierce Knight for us inflicts piercing damage, you get to draw 2 cards and then discard 1. And this card also does give your Gaia monsters piercing damage. So it does give you somewhat of a, let's say, a nerfed effect of Graceful Charity, However, just having your back row clogged up, it could be something to test with. Honestly, I've not really tried this, nor am I a fan, but it is pretty good utility considering we do have a monster that could just simply tutor it out. Onto the spells, we have 2 copies of MST. Again, it's just really good for getting rid of back row because, again, if your opponent plays something like Karma Cut that just stops us from like going off, it could be a problem. Same thing with the cards like Tretch or even Floodgate. So just getting rid of those problematic thoughts early on is really good. We're also playing 1 Book of Moon, aka Book of Money. Your boy Metallic was insanely lucky in actually pulling a copy. I would love to get multiple copies of this card, but it is expensive. And I don't want to put any more money to Duel Links, nor much at all. We're also playing 1 copy of Cosmic Cyclone. Honestly, I'd rather have this being MST because I'd rather not get rid of our life points. Because usually, the thing is, with Cosmic Cyclone versus MST, inherently they do the same thing. They remove problematic spell or traps on the board, especially with pendulums being a thing now. This is actually pretty important. The only thing I don't like about it is that this actually banishes it and this destroys it at the cost of 1,000 life points. In some contexts, it's better to banish than destroy it anyway, but a lot of spell and traps these days can either react to the activation of this or this, essentially still getting rid of the card, but it just forces the activation. So the opponent may get some pluses, you know? So honestly, that's kind of like when I'm playing the 2-1. We have more copies of Cosmic, as you can see down here, but so far for now, I'm actually really enjoying this ratio. Playing 1 Galloping Gaia, if you control a Gaia the Dragon Champion, which these do count for, your opponent can activate cards during the battle phase, and then here's the kicker. You can reveal 1 Gaia the Fierce Knight monster in your hand, add a level 5 Dragon-type monster from your deck to your hand, or you can reveal a level 5 Dragon-type monster in your hand and add 1 Gaia the Fierce Knight from your deck to your hand. So essentially, if you have this guy, you can use it to search out this guy, but if you have this guy, you could use it to search out this guy. So it's just a really powerful card, and honestly, since we are playing the Dragon's Knight path, you really don't need to play more than 1. You could play 2 if you are concerned that they might just get rid of it with, like, you know, an MST or a Cosmic. But essentially, playing 1, you're totally fine. We're playing 2 copies of Dragon's Mirror. Essentially, what this does, it turns these 2 into one of these. You just simply banish monsters from your field or graveyard for the fusion material monster. Because honestly, some really strong turn 1 plays you can do is actually summon one of these by using these 2 on the field. And then you use Dragon's Mirror to banish these 2 that are in your graveyard from the fusion from the previous one, and then summon out a second copy. Like, it's pretty... You'll be surprised on how consistent you can actually open up with 2 Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons. It's actually absurd. We're playing 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice, so this is actually fantastic. Target 1 face-up monster on the field until the end of the turn. That target gains 400 attack, but its effects are negated. So this is really good because it can negate some of your opponent's monsters that can be very problematic. Because again, monster effects are some of those potent win cons in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or just accelerants, you know? So by having Forbidden Chalice as a quick play, it can be really good just to be able to stop your opponent from going off. But here's the thing I love about this as well. So with our Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons, if you use his effect to destroy 1 card on the field, he loses 2,600 attack, which will generally bring this guy down to 0. However, what you can then do is you can use Forbidden Chalice to negate his effects, and this will reset him back to his original base power level at 2,600, plus giving him an extra 400 attack boost. So he'll become 3,000 during that turn, and then by the time that the effects of Forbidden Chalice wear off, this is going to reset your Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons, so he'll be back at 2,600 attack, and that gives you more opportunity to use his effect, which we'll go into in just a second. So Forbidden Chalice has great synergy in terms of being an accelerant and a reset for our board, but it's also a hindrance to your opponent's board. Like, that's why I'm really happy we got these. 2 is a great number. Jeez, I'm actually looking at this deck. You can see pretty much everything is a super and ultra rare. Man, that's awful. We're playing 2 Gateways to Chaos. So the reason why we're playing 2 Gateway of Chaos, in case we do not open up a Gaia the Magical Knight, this can essentially be a reinforcement of the army activation to search out for, because it allows you to add a Blackluster Soldier monster or a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster from your deck to your hand, which is really strong. So essentially, you activate this, get this to search out, use your Dragon Knight's path to be able to get access to Galloping Gaia, and then you can then, you know, have the Galloping Gaia reveal this card to be able to get access to your Curse of Dragonfire. This deck is very well designed to pretty much do the same thing consistently, and it really excels in that as well. We're also playing 2 Treacherous Trap Hole. So when I was building this deck, I actually did look at some, you know, different different lists, I would say, for like different ideas, and this one fit pretty well for my playstyle. So if you control no trap cards in your graveyard, you can target 2 monsters on the field, destroy those targets. So this is actually really good now, especially with the fact that pendulums are now a thing. So it allows you to just pretty much destroy whatever they pendulum summon, because we're still restricted to that 3 monster card zone. Again, we're only playing 2 trap cards, both being Treacherous Trap Hole, so we're at least going to get 1 activation for sure. So this is actually a really good card. You may want to be kind of careful when you're playing this card, because if you set this card and during the end phase your opponent, like let's say blind MSTs your Treacherous Trap Hole, it's going to destroy it, it's going to put it in the graveyard, and it's going to render your other card obsolete. So just be a little bit careful about when you're placing it, because it could bite you in the butt. Now, Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons, the reason why this deck is so freaking good. So this card is always treated as Gaia the Dragon Champion. You can fuse into it using 1 Gaia the Fierce Knight monster plus 1 level 5 or higher Dragon type monster. So technically, you can even use Gaia the Fierce Knight Origin, which is actually pretty interesting, or even Soldier Gaia the Fierce Knight. So once per turn during your main phase, quick effect. So you can use this at any point in time, essentially. You can target one other card of the field. This card loses 2600 attack, and if it does, destroy that card. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can make this card gain 2600 attack. So it's very easy to get this guy up to 5200 attack, pretty straightforward. But the fact that it does have that ability to become really strong, and also, of course, being able to be a quick destruction card for whether it be a spell or a monster or a trap, is really good. This card is essentially one of the reasons why the deck is so good, along with things like Gaia, the Galloping Gaia. So we're running 3 copies. Honestly, you could probably easily get away with just only using 2. I've never found myself being in a situation where you had to play 3 copies. So if you really wanted to, you can take this out and add any other rank 7, rank 5, whatever your heart content. You know, there's definitely options you can do for sure. We're playing 2 Sky Galloping Gaia the Dragon Champion. Honestly, I feel like with this one, you could also remove this as well and play something else. And if you really wanted to, you can even look into maybe spicing things up and being careful and adding some invoke stuff if you really wanted to. Because again, there's a lot of fusion synergy there. So in this card especially, we can add a Spiral Spear Strike, which is fine. We don't play that card. However, when this card declares an attack, you can change the battle position of the opponent's monster. So the last effect is more relevant than anything, because sometimes there are issues where we have to take out our opponent's monsters, but they might be too strong. Because again, 26 is not... It's not the biggest number, you know? But in terms of getting over defense monsters, 26 could sometimes do the job. So he has some utility. Again, it's come up very seldomly, but it can work out. So the other 2 are more or less just throw-ins. You don't go into too much, but when you do, it's actually hilarious. We're playing 1 copy of Mecha Phantom Beast Dracosac. So once per turn, you can special detach 1 Exceed material, special summon 2 Mecha Phantom Beast tokens with level 3/0/0 attack. While you control a token, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Once per turn, you contribute a Mecha Phantom Beast token, target 1 card on the field, destroy it. This card cannot attack the turn you activate this effect. So again, it's kind of like a protection card where you can be able to have access to just a destroy token, destroy another card on the field. It has protection with the other token anyway. So Dracosac is an interesting card, just something you're not going to go into too often. Same thing with Tears Keeper of Genesis. This card's effect can only be applied and resolved when it has material. This card cannot be destroyed by card effects. At the end of the battle phase, this card attacked or was attacked, target 1 card on the field and destroy it. During each of your end phases, detach 1 Exceed material. Again, you could probably filter in something better for this, but again, I've never actually went into the card. However, it is pretty easy to get out rank 5s with like Curse of Dragonfire plus a Dark Flare Dragon. So rank 5s definitely have some potential to be able to go into there. But yeah, that is the Gaia, the Fierce Knight deck profile that we've been rocking with here on twitch.tv/Metallicaerox. Again, it's a very fun deck. I would definitely recommend it if you want to play something that's very combat oriented, very fast. So, and also, it's just a great way to kind of deal with pendulums too. I'll probably be working on a pendulum based deck sooner when we get a little bit more pendulum support, so definitely stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. Don't forget to comment down below what deck you're currently playing in Duel Links, because I'm very curious, honestly. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Stay safe and stay hydrated.